What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's tutorial I've got something really fun for you. So when I think about creating any Revit tutorials, I always try to find some topics that are maybe kind of odd, kind of difficult, or just kind of interesting. Because I like to test out how can we use Revit in the oddest possible way, not only because it's fun along the way, but also because we can learn some new things. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to be talking about how to create a treehouse in Revit, and I'm going to be showing you how to model that in Revit. I found a really cool tree family, and then I'm going to be showing you how to model something like that, like a treehouse, in Revit. Now, before I get into that tutorial, I would just like to ask you to like this tutorial. It helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and also make sure to subscribe, because I make useful tutorials each week. I make multiple tutorials each week, and also each week I upload one advanced Balkan Architect course. Now, all of those courses are over 1 hour long, and you can find them on my Patreon. First link in the description of the video, and also there you can find all of my project files, like this treehouse that I'm going to be creating today. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get straight into the tutorial. So here we are at Revit's homepage, and let's immediately go here into models, and I'm just going to click here on new, and for template I'm just going to choose the architectural template for this one. I'm just going to click OK, and then before we get into anything, I'm just going to change the units. You can go here to manage and then to project units, or alternatively you can use the UN shortcut. Now here for length, I'm just going to change it to centimeters because that's what I prefer to work in, but feel free to set up the units to anything that you might want. I'm just going to click OK, and then let's get straight into the tutorial. So the first thing that we need for our treehouse, and that's actually the tree. Now, I found a family that works best for this treehouse. It's really hard and difficult to find appropriate 3D tree families in Revit. So I found this one, and it's going to be included in the exercise files on my Patreon, so that's first link in the description if you want to get the tree as well as the whole final treehouse that I'm going to be constructing. So what I'm going to do is just go here to insert, and then let's go into load family. Now I'm going to navigate here to my desktop, and here we have this, well, quite ominously named a dead tree. The reason for that is because I guess it doesn't have any leaves. And now as soon as it loads in, we can go back to architecture, go to component, and now we can place our tree here. I'm just going to hit the escape key a couple of times, and then let's go straight into the 3D view here on the quick access toolbar, just to take a look at our tree. So I chose this tree because, as you can see, it's got these big branches, and I guess it's a bit easier to create something on this tree than on maybe a tree that has a lot of leaves and everything and a lot of branches. So what I'm going to do first is set up the levels, because as you can see, the levels, and maybe if we go to south elevation or something like that, level 1 is set at 0, and then level 2 is set at 400 centimeters. Now we want to have a level that's here at tree level. Now you have two options. You can either bring up these two levels, so level 1 can be like the bottom of your treehouse and level 2 can be top of the treehouse, or I prefer the option to drop the tree down. The reason I do that is because I like to have my level that's at 0. I want to have that level at the bottom of my actual building and not at the ground level. We can add the ground level later on, and this is a common practice in architecture. So what I'm going to do is select the tree. Now you can either move it here in one of the elevations by using the move tool, or alternatively, and I think it's a quicker option, is to go here to constraints in the properties panel, find the offset from host, and in this case host is level 1, so we can just offset it by minus 450, so that's 450 centimeters. And as soon as I hit apply, as you can see, the tree drops down, and here level 1 is at around where we want at the bottom of our treehouse to be. Now here level 2 is at the top. Now for level 2, I think this is a bit too high for a treehouse. So what I'm going to do is select level 2, and then here in the properties, I'm going to drop down the elevation from 400 to 260 centimeters. This is a treehouse in the end.
Next, we want to have our ground level. So for that, we can just go here to levels, and you can use the LL shortcut. And then we just want to have one here on the bottom at -450. Now you can just place it like this, or you can go and add an offset and maybe use the pick lines tool with an offset of 450. And then you can basically pick just this line. Just make sure to come from the bottom so it goes on the bottom instead of on top. So you come from the bottom, you click, and there we go, we have our ground level. So this is just going to be our ground level. Okay, let's rename it, and this can be level 1 and level 2. Okay, so once we have these levels, the problem with constructing this treehouse is the fact that just viewing the branches and understanding the spatial relationship between these tree branches is really difficult. So what we need to do in this case is to go to the 3D view, and most of the modeling is going to be done in 3D. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to choose where we're going to be placing our the bottom of our treehouse. Now, I really like this spot, so between this branch over here and this branch over here, I think it works best. Now, I can't really see where that is in terms of levels. So something that you can do in order to make this a bit easier to understand the whole spatial relationship is to select your level 1 in 3D like this, and then you can just highlight that level. So you can do that by going here to Architecture, then here we have Work Plane, and we can turn on Show. Now, as you can see, it highlights level 1. So because that's the active work plane. So now you can see where that level is cutting this tree. We can see that somewhere over here. So I really like that. So I can navigate kind of on top like this, and I can use these little grid lines to help me out with the drawing. So what I'm going to do is navigate here to Floor, and let's just use the generic floor 150 for now. And what I'm going to do is just use a simple rectangle, and then I'm going to do something like this. Now, I'm not really sure where this is, so we do have to do quite a bit of orbiting around just to see if it's in the correct place. So what I'm going to do is maybe move this a bit towards this branch. Let's say it's kind of attached there. Okay, this needs to move in a lot, maybe like this. We still want to have it kind of attached to that branch as well, a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I know where this line is and this line, and the next few lines are going to be determined just by the dimensions of the whole treehouse. So for this one, I want it to be 400, and for this one, we can go with 500. Let's see how that looks like, and I guess it looks fine. Okay, so this is going to be the bottom of our treehouse. Now, if I just hit finish, it looks like that. So let's say our treehouse is kind of anchored at the tree like that. And of course, you are going to need a specific construction system for this. But for now, let's just leave it as is. Okay, so once we have this floor, the next option is to add a roof. Now for the roof, I'm just going to go here to level 2 in the project browser. And once we're in level 2, you're going to notice that because of the underlay settings, and you can check those here in the properties, here in the underlay settings, the base level is set at level 1. That's why we can see this floor over here. We can't really edit it, but we can still see it. So what I'm going to do with that information is go here to roof, and we're creating a simple roof. I'm just going to change it to the smaller generic 125 millimeter, and then let's create our roof. So I'm going to use the pick lines option, and here I'm just going to pick this line, and on all other sides I'm going to use an offset of 40 centimeters just to have a small overhang on all other sides. So make sure you select this line here like that, and then here we want to select this line, and as you can see, it creates our outline. Now we have to kind of fix this up by using the trim and extend to corner. TR is the shortcut, so we just trim and extend it like that, and there we go, we have our roof. Now, a small problem with this roof is I don't want to slope on this side, so I'm just going to hit the escape key a couple of times to exit out of trim and extend, select this line, and then here we have the define slope option, and you can check it off either here or here in the properties. So once I check that off and hit finish, If we go into 3D, it looks like this, and that's just because here I want to have like a small porch or something like that, so that's why I left it like this, and I think it looks okay. I think the positioning is spot on. Okay, we no longer need to see our level with this kind of grid line, so what I'm going to do is simply go here to work plane and just uncheck that show option. Okay, so once we have this, let's add some walls. Now for walls, we're going to go with something really simple. So what I'm going to do is just navigate here into level 1, either here in the project browser, or we actually have it opened up. So I'm just going to navigate here, open up level 1, and there we go. Okay, so once we're here, I'm going to navigate here to wall. Here we have the generic 200mm wall, and I'm going to go into edit type, duplicate this one, and let's go with something like generic 60mm. Just because this is a treehouse, it's probably just going to have simple wooden construction, so I think 60mm is more than enough. I'm just going to click OK, and then we have the option to use pick lines again, so we can just pick this whole floor. So I just hover over one of the lines of the floor, hit the tab key a couple of times, and then it selects the whole floor. So now I can place my wall, but as you can see, it's a bit too large. Now let's go back one step, and we're having some issues. So here I have to go back into edit type, and we've changed the name, but we haven't actually changed the width of the wall. The width is still at 20. So what we need to do is go here to structure, go into edit, and then change the thickness to 6 centimeters. Go back to OK, OK again, and there we go. One more thing that we need to set up is the location line. We want the location line to be here on the edge of this floor. So change the location line from wall center to finish face exterior. Okay, finally we can create our wall. Now you will notice when you come close to this line, it's going to give you that kind of offset either on the inside or the outside. We want our wall, of course, to be on the inside of the floor. So I'm just going to select that option, or just hover over it there. Use the tab key a couple of times to select the whole outline, and there we go, we have our wall. Now I'm just going to hit the escape key a couple of times to exit out of the wall command, and then I'm going to move this wall a bit towards the inside. Next we have this witness line, and I'm just going to move it to the other side because I want to have enough space over here, maybe 150, and there we go. I think this works. So let's go into 3D just to see what that looks like. It almost looks perfect. This is just way far out. So I'm going to hover over one of these walls, hit the tab key once to select the whole chain, and then once we have all walls, let's go to attach top base, and then let's attach it to the roof. Okay, so we have something that looks fairly good at this point. So the next thing that we have to do is we have to add some, of course, doors and windows. So what I'm going to do is go here to the door tool, and we only have this door loaded in. So let's load in a more interesting one, maybe some with glass here on the door. So I'm just going to go here to load family. Let's go to the metric library, find doors. Let's go to residential, and here we have a few options. I'm going to go with, let's see, do we have something a bit better? No, I guess we can go with full glass. Click OK. Now we have many options. I'm going to go with the smaller one just because this is a treehouse. It doesn't need that big of a door, and let's place it over here. Hit the escape key a couple of times, and we're done. Okay, now let's add some windows. So for windows, I can go into level 1. Here we have that door. Now for windows, I'm going to go here to window, and I'm just going to use one of the existing ones, maybe this, and then let's create one over here, perhaps one over here, and then one over here. Let's go back into 3D just to check what that looks like. Okay, these might be a bit too high, so I'm going to do a quick cross selection. Go to filter, go to check none, check just the windows, click apply, okay, and then we can change the sill height from 90 to maybe 50, hit enter, and there we go. They're positioned a bit better, so I'm quite happy with this. Now the most interesting part of this treehouse is, of course, going to be, well, how do you get up on the treehouse? So for that we need some sort of a ladder. So for the ladder, what I'm going to do is go here to insert, back into load family. Let's go back a couple of folders, and now here I want to search for the folder that says specialty equipment. Here we have ladders, and let's see what do we have. So this one looks most treehouse like. I mean, they don't really fit the design, but I guess we can go with this one instead of modeling one ourselves. So once we load that in, let's go back into architecture. Let's go here to component. And as you can see, it's kind of a face-based component, so we can place it here on this wall. And once it's placed, we can kind of move it around. So let's move it like this. Yeah, I guess this can work. Maybe we can nudge it here into position. There we go. I think this looks quite nice. We can also add some railing around. So let's go back into level 1. And then let's go here into railing. And then for railing, I'm going to go with the pipe option, or maybe just with regular 900mm rail. I guess that one will work best. And let's go from here all the way to here, and then all the way to the edge. Now let's go into 3D just to see what that looks like. Yeah, it looks almost perfect. Let's hit finish. And there we go. We have some sort of a railing just to protect people from falling over. Okay, so once we have this part done, now it's time to see, well, what does this actually look like? So what I'm going to do for that is go here to Visual Styles and change it to Realistic. Okay, so the tree looks decent enough, but the problem is everything is gray and ugly. So let's change the roof first. I'm going to select the roof, and then I'm going to go here into Edit Type. Now, once we're here, let's go into Structure, and I'm going to change the main structure to maybe something like 5 centimeters. And here for the material, I'm just going to go into Edit, and let's search for wood material. Let's go with cherry. Okay, so we have some sort of a wooden construction, and then I'm going to select the layer above, click Insert, and here now we can add a finish layer. So here I'm just going to give it a finish, and then for thickness, let's go with 3 centimeters, and for material, let's find some roofing. So here we have some roof tile. I think this will look good enough. There we go, it looks like a roof, and then here we have wood on the bottom. Now the next step is to change the walls, so hover over one of the walls, hit the tab key to select the whole chain, and then you can go here into Edit Type, go into Structure, go into Material, go into Edit, and then for this, I want to use siding. Now I'm just going to search for siding. Okay, here we go. So we have two options. I'm going to use this one because it's a bit lighter color. I really like it. So I'm just going to choose that one, hit apply, okay. And it looks like this. So it looks more treehousey, I guess. Now, just looking at it, it might be a better idea to change and use the same material here for the roof. So let's go here and change it from cherry into siding. I know this might not be the most proper use of materials, but I think it's good enough for this simple construction. And then finally for the floor, let's select the floor. I'm going to go here into Edit Type, and then let's go into Structure. Let's edit that. Now I'm going to change the floor down to 5 centimeters, and also I'm going to give it that siding material just to continue in the same theme. Hit apply, okay, there we go. And then we're going to be adding some construction as well. But first, here, this railing, let's go into Edit Type, and let's see, can we change that? So here, let's see. We don't have anything here. Baluster placement, do we have some sort of a... we have the family, but the material... Let's change the material. Now, for the material of the railing, what we need to do is we need to go here to families, and then let's see which families are used for this. So maybe a better idea would be to go here into Edit Type just to see. So for example, the top rail is the rectangular 50 by 50 millimeter. So here, let's see, do we have railings, top rail. Here we have it. And then here, I think we can change the material, if I can only find it. Here we go, material. And let's go with, we can use the same material. You're not going to see the siding, but it is going to use the same color, so that's good. Okay, and then for these balusters, well, I guess we don't have to change them because you can't really see the color that well, but you can change that by finding that square baluster here and changing it the material up. So the railing looks good. Now let's do the construction here below. So for construction, we need to add some timber. So for that timber, what we need to do is I'm going to go here to Insert, Load Family. Then we're going to search for structural framing, and then let's go with wood. And then here, let's add some timber. Now we have many options. I'm going to go with this option just as a simple solution for now. But of course, feel free to choose whatever suits your treehouse needs. Now I'm going to go back to the project browser. Let's close this off, and let's actually collapse the whole family's node just to make it a bit simpler to navigate. And then let's go into level 1. Now here, once we're in level 1, I'm going to go to Structure and then to Beam System. And then here for the beam system, I'm going to go and change the beam type. So the beam type is, oh, well, it's actually timber, so that's good. And then for the fixed spacing, so the layout rule is fixed distance, but the spacing is way too large. So let's drop it down to something like 60 centimeters, and then let's create the boundary. So the boundary should go from here all the way to, well, here somewhere. Maybe we can move it like that. There we go, looks good enough. And actually, I'm just going to switch the beam direction. So I'm just going to go here to beam direction and pick this line that goes in that way. And there we go. So now if we go into 3D, as you can see here, we have that beam system. Now we can actually select the whole beam system. Just make sure that here it says beam system. You don't accidentally select the floor. So you want to have this highlighted. So it should say structural beam system. And once you select that, you could give it a -5 centimeter offset so it drops below. So there we go, we have something resembling a construction. Now, of course, it would have to be anchored here somehow to the tree and all of that, but of course, I'm going to leave that up to you to kind of play around with the whole structural elements of this whole thing. Now, additionally, what we're going to be doing here is maybe adapting this to the tree, so feel free to do so. You can do that in a variety of ways. So, for example, for this branch over here that's going through the roof, what you can do is go maybe here to the opening by face, select this roof face just like that, and then here we can just create a simple circle. Maybe move it up a bit like that, hit finish, and there we go. So now this branch is kind of going through that circle. Maybe we need to kind of make it a bit bigger, maybe 25, move it like that, hit finish. There we go. Looks well, looks good, but we have a problem with this wall is kind of escaping it. So in order to fix this, we have to go back to that, go into Edit Sketch, maybe move it just a tad. I'm just using the arrow keys here. There we go. So that looks good. So we have that branch that's kind of poking through our roof, which I think looks really cool. And yeah, then you can basically repeat that everywhere else if you want. So for example, over here, you can go to opening by face. Let's see, can we select this wall? Okay, let's try something else. So for wall openings, maybe a best solution in this case would be to go to Architecture, go to Component, and use Model in Place. And then here for the category, choose Walls. Okay. And then here we can go to Set Work Plane, go with Pick a Plane, click OK. And then we can pick this wall. And then we just need to create a small circular void extrusion. Just go like this. There we go, hit finish. You can extend it a little bit. And then you can use cut geometry to cut it from this wall. So let's see. There we go. Now we have an opening for that branch. Hit finish model. And there we go. So you can play around like that in order to create openings for all of the branches and everything just to make it look a bit nicer. But there we go. That's the approach I would use to creating a treehouse in Revit. I hope you have found this whole tutorial interesting, and feel free to model something like this, and then you can maybe attach it on Instagram and then share your models. I can maybe repost them or something like that, so I guess it can be a fun little exercise in Revit. Okay, so that concludes this tutorial. If you want to get all of the project files used, check out my Patreon, first link in the description. There you have all of my Revit project files as well as all of my advanced courses over like, I don't know, 50 hours of content so far. So there's a lot to learn there. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.